Bones Hyland is one of my favorite young players in the league. He's obviously known for having a super deep bag and being a bucket getter off the bounce, but there's a lot more than that, and I'll dissect it all today. So let's start with his ball handling. One thing you'll notice is that naturally he's a very hinged mover. You can think of this as him moving with his shoulders down a bit more, or his chest more parallel to the floor. It almost looks like he's kind of hunching over a bit. Now, he's not thinking about this, of course, and I doubt he's ever trained it, but it does have some benefits. Number one, before he explodes, it puts him in an easier position to explode from, since his trunk angle is closer to that we'd see in acceleration. I'm not saying he can't be unpredictable and dropping from a higher trunk angle, but it's easier for him to get into that explosive first step. Now, once he's already moving at a higher speed downhill, this definitely seems to help him protect the ball easier from defenders on his side, especially since his upper body is in a better position to shield it off. Plus, it allows him to get his shoulders past the defender easier and more naturally, and once this happens, it's much easier for him to turn that corner as well as create and resist contact. He's also definitely one of those dudes who doesn't look crazy strong, but he can move people around. I guess wiry strong, as they say. And what I think a lot of this stems from is the skill of creating contact. Not necessarily the strength, although he is probably super basketball strong, super high relative strength, resists motion through his core well, but it's also, again, the skill, the timing of these bumps, the angle, knowing when to do it, all of that. He also has a great feel for momentum. Not that you care, but scientifically, momentum is equal to mass times velocity. So he may not have as much mass as somebody, clearly, but if he's at a higher speed or velocity, it'll make up for that. And he can tell when there's an opportunity for him to really give a good bump and use that to create space because he's at a high speed. And if he doesn't have a momentum advantage, maybe he'll try something else. Now, in terms of his go-tos, he's really good with this in-stride between, or anchor step, I guess you could call it, which allows him to use his length to get a step on defenders. This is tough because oftentimes it's moving you into super close quarters with the defender, but if you're able to protect, keep that speed, and even deal with a bit of contact, it can give you a huge advantage. He also loves playing out of that split stance, so he's ready to plant that back foot and explode in a split second. Since he's already in that forward lean most times, this process is crazy quick. And he can shoot out of it too, which makes it even more difficult to defend. Lastly, he's super physical with that off arm. Players often try to take advantage of his skinnier frame by getting physical, and he uses this to his advantage by not only shielding them off, but also hitting them a bit and sending them backwards. This is fully legal, trust me, and it's one of the best ways to play physically as a skinnier hooper and just overall set the tone that you're not going to be rattled by contact. Alright, so for his game around the rim, he's great at coming to 2-foot stops and then super nimbly pivoting and turning around into touch shots or short jumpers. And this is one way to deal with contact as a skinnier player. Instead of trying to take a bump and get rushed and get straight into it, he's patient. He's making something work with skill. And these are some tough shots. That's what constitutes a player of his caliber a lot of the time. The ability to make tough shots look super easy and adjust as needed. And although he's definitely solid at coming to these 2-foot stops, his bread and butter around the rim seems to be developing some speed and then using single leg jumps to finish here with control and adjusting in the air. So him being able to finish with both hands here is huge, since he can now get up in the air and have the freedom to switch hands, adjust, and finish with either hand at any angle. He's also really good at cradling the ball to get some momentum into the lay, even on the way down. Lanky athletes tend to be more 1-foot dominant, just what their biomechanics and anthropometrics favor, and Bones definitely takes advantage of this. And being lanky also helps him really extend out and around defenders and get closer to the rim on any finish, especially single leg ones, making it a much easier finish. But this also comes into play on these inside hand finishes, where he'll gain an advantage by stretching out and getting inside the level of the defender's shoulder. It's kind of like him getting ahead of defender's shoulders on the drive. Plus, if he gets bumped a bit off his line, this makes it easier for him to get back closer to the rim instead of him shooting a fader with his left or falling away from the basket.
To defend the three-point line. Hyland got the step.
Now, in terms of his shooting, his perimeter game, Bones clearly has a low release, which is becoming more and more commonplace in today's league. Now, this does a couple things. Is it theoretically more blockable? Yes. But the speed of it usually makes up for this pretty easily. And it gives him a huge boost on his range as well. The energy transfer is crazy efficient, which is why his 30-footers look easy. He also finishes high on pretty much every shot, which causes him to shoot the ball up and not out. Especially for one-motion shooters with a lower set point, this is huge. Not only for the energy transfer, but for getting more arc giving that shot a better chance to go in and releasing it above the extended arm of a contest. And like we talked about the tough short shots and being able to adjust, he seems pretty confident shooting out of even somewhat weird foot positions. Maybe one foot in front of the other, more narrow, more wide. This opens up a ton of opportunities since honestly, most shots aren't going to be perfect, especially at this level. And most of his off the dribble shots are moving backwards or to the side, most of which comes down to controlling momentum and position. In other words, preventing that lean backwards or to the side as he takes those steps, which he's very good at doing. And this shooting ability isn't just off the dribble. He's not always going to be the primary ball handler, so his ability to get open using off-ball screens, finding pockets of space, and then catching and shooting gets him a ton of easy points. I honestly don't know if he's always had this or if he's developed it in college or even more in the NBA as he's played at this level, but he's really good at this, especially for someone who's so good with the ball in their hand. And I think apart from anything technical, his confidence is something to study. Pulling up from three in transition, off of separation moves, there's always an air of confidence that guys like Bones exude, and while it's natural for some, I do believe it's earned and trained.
Bones with 21 looking for more.
So hopefully you guys learned something from this video, took something for your own game as well. For much more like this, make sure to tap in on Instagram at By Any Means Basketball. As always, stay tuned. Appreciate you guys. Thanks for tuning in.
I'm gonna keep it real, I use DoorDash way too much to save time, which is why we've now partnered with DoorDash to make sure that you get on the wave as well. For a limited time, our viewers can get 50% off up to a $20 value and $0 delivery fees when you download the DoorDash app and enter code ByAnyMeans. Don't forget, that's code ByAnyMeans for 50% off up to a $20 value and $0 delivery fees with DoorDash. That's 50% off up to a $20 value and $0 delivery fees when you download the DoorDash app in the App Store and enter code ByAnyMeans. Subject to change, terms apply.